Yes, honorable members, let's settle. You are welcome back. Yes, leader.
Speaker, we are ready for item 17 on page 6 of today's order paper, page 6, item 17. And Speaker, with your leave, if I may take it for and on behalf of the Leader of the House.
Honorable members, let me invite you to page 6. Page 6, item listed 17. Item listed 17. Majority Leader, so Majority Chief Whip, may take it on behalf.
Speaker, I rise to move the House to take item listed as 17 on page 6 of today's order paper. Speaker, so move.
Yes, honorable members, the motion has been moved. Any seconder?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion. And in doing so, I submit the report of the Special Budget Committee on the 2023 budget estimates of the Parliament of Ghana. And Mr. Speaker, I request the table office to take up the full report in its entirety. Mr. Speaker, certain observations were made, and the first one is the fact that 320 cedis has been allocated for the service of Parliament and the parliamentary service for 2023 fiscal year. And this amount represents 91% of the budgetary requirement of Parliament and the parliamentary service. It was also noted that this year Parliament will be undertaking the construction of 10 offices for the construction of 10 offices for parliamentarians. The committee therefore urges for members to submit the needed documentation. It was also noted that provision of administrative assistance will be embarked upon. Mr. Speaker, we also noted that the strengthening of research support to Parliament, it's something that the Parliamentary Service Committee is going to embark upon. And we would like to recognize the numerous interventions put in place to improve the security of members and staff of Parliament in particular, with the President of Parliament. But the committee is of the view that since the threat of insecurity is still high on the continent and the sub-region, there will be the need to sustain the efforts, and therefore urges the leadership to allocate to improve the security situation within the precincts. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the committee has carefully scrutinized the budget estimates of Parliament and the parliamentary services and believe that the programs and policies planned for 2023 financial year would go a long way towards achieving the medium to long-term goals and objectives of Parliament. The committee accordingly recommends to the House to adopt its report and approve the sum of 700 197,850,320 Ghana cedis for the services of Parliament and the parliamentary services for the year 2023 financial year. Mr. Speaker, I duly submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, the motion has been moved and has been seconded. The motion is before the House now for consideration. Yes, Honourable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, let me speak in support of this House adopt the motion moved and seconded with the Committee of the Special Budget Report on the Parliament of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, and to emphasize that Parliament remains the cornerstone of democracy. Indeed, it's only democracies that have Parliament. And we need to continue intense public education so that we are appreciated as a co-equal organ of government. The Parliament of Ghana established under Article 92 of the Constitution. And Mr. Speaker, to indicate that there are some positive or good news in this budget, members of Parliament anticipate that beyond their research assistance, they would have administrative assistance. Mr. Speaker, it is the thinking of Honourable Speaker Alban Bagbin that when we do initiate and complete the constituency projects for members of Parliament, MPs will be allowed to recruit one liaison officer, constituency liaison officer, to relate between the constituent and the member of Parliament as you are in Accra, who will supervise the operation of the constituency offices. Mr. Speaker, with the approval of this budget, we expect that at least 25 to 50 of the constituency offices meant for members of Parliament will take up. We probably, at the consideration of the District Assembly Common Fund, may want to take reserve, something out of the reserve fund for a number of those projects, even if it means that it's done to commence it. Mr. Speaker, let me also add that Right Honourable Speaker Bagbin and the board is very much aware that he needs to do more to motivate the workers and staff of the parliamentary service. I do believe that with the compensation budget approved in this budget, there should be some adjustment for them to be excited and happy about this budget. Mr. Speaker, when the Office of the President communicated its approval of this budget consistent with what the Constitution requires, that the budget is not varied to the disadvantage of Parliament, we know that capital expenditure is 110 million Ghana cedis, goods and services 319,000 Ghana cedis, then compensation 368 million Ghana cedis. All the other figures are mentioned in Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, the Parliament of Ghana will also host an important CPA conference. That is the 6th International Conference of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association that the Speaker of Parliament chairs now as President, with the Majority Leader as Vice Chair and member of the Coordinating Committee. Mr. Speaker, this year, Parliament will deploy some Wi-Fi internet infrastructure to boost the presence of internet in the House. So, Mr. Speaker, with this, the men and women of the parliamentary service be assured that some good thing is being done about their salaries and pay in order that they can have secured pensions into the future with improvement in their basic salary. With this, Mr. Speaker, I support the adoption of the committee's report. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Member for your leader has all. Honourable Member, at the conclusion of the debate, as many as are in favor of the motion say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is hereby adopted. And that this House has approved the sum of 797,850,000 320 Ghana cedis for the services of Parliament and the parliamentary services for the year ending 31st December 2023. Yes, leader.
Speaker, we are ready for, on same page, page 6, item 15. Page 6, item 15. And Speaker, if you may indulge me, I will take it instead of the...
Very well. Leave granted.
Speaker, I rise to move this house.
Honorable members, please, we have a lot to do, so let's cooperate with each other. And so, majority chief whip, let's hear you.
Speaker, I rise to move that item listed as motion 15 be taken on page 6 of today's order paper. I so move.
Thank you. The motion has been moved. Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the motion on the floor and submit the report of the Special Budget Committee on the 2023 annual budget estimates of the Public Services Commission. And Mr. Speaker, once again, the table office should note and take the entirety of the report, adopt the entirety of the report. And Mr. Speaker, these were the observations made when we carefully examined the 2020 estimates of the Public Service Commission. And the first one is the committee noted that the Public Service Commission has implemented a comprehensive human resource management information systems with funding support from the European Community. And Mr. Speaker, however, the Commission is yet to deploy the HRIS, that is the Human Resource Management Information Systems, in all public service institutions, and therefore urges the Commission to speed up the deployment processes of the software to all state institutions to eliminate ghost names from the payroll and thereby easing economic pressure. Mr. Speaker, another observation was that as enshrined in the Constitution under the Article 195, the Commission has over the years not been consulted in appointments of public officers. And the committee encouraged them to subsequently come up with a policy document to activate its implementation. There was also a serious concern raised on the worrying trend of extending the appointments of public officers after attaining the age of Speaker. In conclusion, the committee, having carefully examined the 2022 annual estimates of the public service, 2023 annual estimates of the Public Service Commission, and having regards to the strategic role of the Public Service Commission in improving public service delivery, recommends to the House to adopt its report and approve the sum of 28,042,940 Ghana cedis to enable the Public Service Commission implement its program and activities for the 2023 financial year. So submit. Thank you.
Honourable members, the motion has been moved and seconded. It is before the House for consideration. Yes, Honourable Minority Leader.
Speaker, I rise to speak in support of the adoption of the report submitted by the chair of the Special Budget Committee that the amount of 28,042,940 Ghana cedis be approved for the Public Services Commission. Mr. Speaker, Article 190 defines what institutions fall within the public service of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, they still don't have an appropriate designated office for the activities of the Office of the Public Service. Mr. Speaker, we need to strengthen what is described in page 4, paragraph 6.2, the Human Resource Management Information System, the HRMIS system, particularly for teachers, doctors, and nurses. Mr. Speaker, as noted by the chair and the committee's report, appointment of persons to public office in Ghana, particularly governing boards, in accordance with Article 70 of the Constitution, the public service is hardly ever consulted. Even though the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, I'll just end with a comment on that. Mr. Speaker, in many instances, chairmen and members of the Public Services Commission are appointed by the President. We expect that when chief executive officers are being appointed, their governing boards consistent with good governance will participate in it. But we seem to load the office of the President with the authority to appoint every person as chief executive officer without the governing board playing any role. Mr. Speaker, the committee insisted, which is captured in the policy statement of the minister, that persons who have retired from the public service at age 60 must be made to go home. Some of them are given contract for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and some of it have opened itself up to nepotism and favoritism. And other young people who should be occupying other office are denied the opportunity. With these words, Mr. Speaker, I support the adoption of the report for the approval of the 28 million for the Public Services Commission. They must also take their pride of place in our public service and constitutional architecture on matters that they should be consulted on by the President. I thank you.
Honourable members, Chairperson, do you want to say something?
Mr. Speaker, before you put the question, I would like us to make a correction. At the last page, where the year of the estimate is 2023 and not to 2022. If you have that, I don't know if it's correct.
Well noted. So, very well. So, honourable members, at the conclusion of the debate, the question is all those in favour of the motion listed 15 in today's order paper, say aye. All those against, say no. I'll take the question again. Please bring your attention here. All those in favor of the motion listed 15, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. Motion is hereby adopted, and that this House has approved the sum of 28,940 Ghana cedis for the services of the Public Services Commission for the year ending 31st, 2023. Yes, Leader.
Speaker, we are ready for item 14.
Yes, honourable members, let's turn to page 5. Page 5, item listed 14. Motion by the majority leader. So, Honourable Chief Whip, you may take it on behalf of the majority.
Speaker, I rise to move that item listed as 14 on page 5 of today's order paper be taken by the House. I so move.
Very well. Madam Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the motion and in so doing present the report of the Special Budget Committee on the 2023 budget estimate of the National Commission for Civic Education. Mr. Speaker, once again, I'm calling on the table office to adopt the report in its entirety. And Mr. Speaker, your committee, after a careful consideration of the estimate of the NCCE, made the following observations. As part of the programs for 2023, as part of its program for 2023, the Commission intends to embark on public education on the upcoming district level election. Mr. Speaker, the committee was made aware that even though public education is an integral part of the Commission's mandate, however, financial allocation for the electoral education are always appropriated to the Electoral Commission. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding, the Commission intends to incorporate public education, especially about the roles of various actors in the democratic architecture. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the committee, having regards to the critical role of the NCCE in promoting a civic education, creating awareness on principles and objectives of the Constitution as the fundamental law of the land, and promoting citizenship education in Ghana, recommends to the House to adopt its report and approve the sum of 84,438,420 Ghana cedis for the implementation of the Commission's programs and activities for the financial year ending 31st December 2023. I so submit, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Very well. Honourable members, the motion has been moved, it has been seconded. It is now before the House for consideration. Yes, Honourable Minority Leader.
Speaker, I rise to speak in support of the motion for that amount of money for the activities and operation of the National Commission for Civic Education. Mr. Speaker, to emphasize that in the year 2020, of their capex, out of 3 million, only 1.4 million was released. Goods and services, out of 9.9 million, only 851,000 was released, with a variance of 7,453,000. It makes it difficult for them to complete projects that they have started. But, Mr. Speaker, into 2023, they will have to intensify public education for the conduct of the District Assembly elections, and also intensify education on anti-corruption initiative, including the implementation of the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan. Mr. Speaker, its commission will also be civic education in respect of patriotism, honesty and integrity for young Ghanaian citizens, especially those in primary, secondary school, to prepare them for the future of work. Mr. Speaker, with this inadequate budgetary allocation, we encourage the Minister of Finance to re-examine and look at the capital expenditure and goods and services approved for the Commission. With this, Mr. Speaker, I support the adoption of the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minority Leader. And at the conclusion of the debate, the question is, all those in favour of the motion listed 14 today's other paper say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is hereby carried. And that this Honourable House has approved the sum of 84,438,420 Ghana cedis for the services of the National Commission for Civic Education for the year ending 31st December 2023. Yes, Leader.
Speaker, may we now take item 9 on page 4. And in fact, the question has to be put. We got to question being put. Speaker, if you may put the question now.
Yes, Honourable Leader, I haven't called you. I haven't called you. Yes, I'm inviting you to page 4, item listed 9, motion by the Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Mr. Speaker, this motion was debated on Friday, and then there was an issue of an allocation of 1 billion for resource mobilization and economic relations. Mr. Speaker, I asked for details of this allocation. Up to now, I have not. If they provided it, I have not received the details. So we cannot put a question. We can't put a question. We should have it. I raised the matter. So if you have any details, give it to me.
Are you talking in respect of item motion 9?
Motion 9, yes. Motion 9, there is an allocation of 1 billion for resource mobilization. We want details of that amount. We have not received it. Yes.
Yes, Chairman of the Committee, can you offer some explanation?
Mr. Speaker, the information he's requesting has come to the committee this morning. We distributed it. My hope was that the ranking member and the minority members on the committee will make the information available. You know. So, yes.
With respect to my...
Yes, Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Finance a while ago was here, and we need him, or the Honorable Abena, if you have mandate as you should, explain. Mr. Speaker, in the budget of the Ministry of Finance, we see compensation of 566 million. Then, Mr. Speaker, they have allocated resource mobilization and economic relations, 1 billion. And our attitude is for government to reduce expenditure and cut expenditure. So we are not convinced that why do you need 1 billion to mobilize resources when the Ghana Revenue Authority has some money allocated to it for purposes of resource mobilization. As far as we know, resource mobilization is collecting taxes in a manner which is effective and efficient. So if the Ministry of Finance does not give us a convincing explanation, we think that this is part of what they should be cutting from the budget to save the country this 1 billion. What do you need 1 billion for in the name of resource mobilization? Is it not GRA we should mobilize resources by collecting taxes? So explain to us, what is this 1 billion meant for? And convince us why we should not ask that it should be part of the budget cuts. Why are you giving this money to the Ministry of Finance? To do what? When you are paid to work, then you want to be paid to mobilize all resources. Is it the mandate of the Ministry of Finance to do that? That is why you have the Ghana Revenue Authority. They are to raise revenue mobilize revenue in accordance with law. So, Mr. Speaker, what the Deputy Leader is asking for, may I respectively refer of the committee's report, page 9, the third item after finance headquarters. You already have 1.6 billion allocated to headquarters. 1.6 billion is there. Page 9, Mr. Speaker, you've seen it. On top, you see 566 million. So, they must explain to us what the 1 billion for resource mobilization stands for before you put the question. If we are convinced, then we will support it. If we are not convinced, we will vote against it. Why do you need 1 billion?
Yes.
Speaker, I want to relate briefly on this matter. Let me start on the note of appealing to the Deputy Leader that before items are called, I relate appropriately. And for this item to be called, I want to put it on record that I'm related to the ranking member of the committee. I didn't just get up and announce the item. But in any case, if it is the case that my colleagues on the other side are insisting, no,
Honorable Deputy Minister for Finance, can you offer some explanation?
Speaker, I will crave your indulgence. That colleagues, let's listen to the Deputy Finance Minister. But just to put on record, I don't just get up and announce the items. I related properly. And I was expecting you to speak to your ranking member.
Honorable Majority Chief Whip. Honorable Majority Chief Whip. It is a motion before us. So if a member doesn't understand anything, I mean, it's within his right to raise the issue. Let's give the opportunity to the Deputy Finance Minister to offer. Honorable Abra, can you give us some explanation? Yes, Honorable Abra, let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think we debated on this last week, Friday, and I mentioned that resource mobilization economic relations, it's just a name of one of the divisions at the Ministry of Finance, and they are responsible for mobilizing all the multilateral and bilateral loans that we use government.
Please, when you listen, you will hear her. Honorable Member.
So, Mr. Speaker, when you look at the Ministry of Finance report on page 9 under Finance Headquarters, it states all the divisions at the Ministry of Finance, and Resource Mobilization Economic Relations is one of the divisions at the Ministry of Finance, and they are responsible for the bilateral, multilateral, and all the DP funds. That's the budget. And so, this 2 days ago, we showed the breakdown we sent the breakdown to the committee. And, Mr. Speaker, as part of the breakdown, we showed that 5.2 million of this is going to be used for the strengthening strengthening institutional capacity for DRM and economic management. We also mentioned that the financial sector development project, where we were going to operationalize and maintain the core banking system, is also part of this allocation. That is 79 million. We also mentioned development finance project, which is under the development bank operationalization. That also will take about 110 million. We mentioned that the gift system, we wanted to upgrade the ICT gift system, and that will also take a portion of that. Mr. Speaker, I would hand in this document as we did at the Finance Committee. But to state that the Resource Mobilization and Economic Relations is just one of the divisions at the Ministry of Finance, and they are responsible for maintaining our bilateral and multilateral loans that we use to support the budget. Please submit it, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minority Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the document our colleague Honorable Abina is holding. Mr. Speaker, we have other businesses. Can we stand this down, get this copy to everybody, so that we appreciate the breakdown? Because when you talk about 1 billion and the way it appears here, it is very difficult to comprehend. but it looks like she's providing some details. But that details is not with us. So if we could stand this down, carry on with other business, photocopy these documents, so everybody is holding a copy. So when we come back to it, we all can speak to it because we'll then be able to see those details and appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Speaker, I support my colleague. I support my colleague, Junabu Muntaka, and to that score, I will, Speaker, call for us to go on to page. For it to be stand down first, and then we can take the next item. At your leave.
Very well. The motion has not even been moved. Honorable Leader, did you move the motion?
Mr. Speaker, the motion was moved on Friday. It was debated. And as part of my contribution, I raised the issue of the 1 billion, the breakdown of the 1 billion. The breakdown was not provided to any member. If it's provided to the committee members, myself who raised the issue, I don't have a copy. It is not being read by the deputy. We have not even looked at it. Then you want to put a question. If you want to put it, what a whole Ministry of Finance for the year 2022, for 9 months, they spent only 474 million Ghana cedis, including the resource mobilization division. But for 2023, that division alone is allocated 1 billion. And we think that that is not a concern for the people's money, the tax money. We should go ahead and approve it.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to give this document to them. But on the other side, to say that I never showed it to any member, that is not true, because I sent it to the committee. And the committee, we also have the minority in the committee. So you can't say I never showed it to any member. I did not show it to you, but that doesn't mean I did not show it to any member. I did, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I am happy to hand in this document. And just to let you know that this is something that we have debated on. This is something that we talked about last week. Mr. Speaker, one important thing that is on this in this budget is for us to fund the Ghana Job and Skills Project, which is about 276 million in this budget. We also have the economic transformation project, which is 632 million. So all these add up to the 1 billion that we are talking about. Mr. Speaker, and they are not going to be used by Ministry of Finance. The Job and Skills is going to be used by the Ministry of Employment. And then the economic transformation is going to be used by MOTI, NEIP, GEA, GPC, and the Ghana Free Zones Board. But Mr. Speaker, I am happy to hand in as proof of what we are saying. These monies are housed at Ministry of Finance, but it is not all these monies are not going to be used by Ministry of Finance. So, Mr. Speaker, I am happy to hand this out so that my colleague on the other side can look at it, especially the Deputy Minority Leader. But I did show it to members. I showed it to the ranking members of the Finance Committee. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member, you want to speak, but you wouldn't allow somebody else to speak. I mean, oh. So, honourable members, I think leadership will distribute it. But meanwhile, we are holding on to the question. Is that not so? We are.
Speaker, they don't have minority members on the Finance Committee, but they were there. So if they can't tell me I never showed it to any member, I cannot.
Honourable Abner.
Mr. Speaker.
Speaker, earlier on, my colleague, the chief whip made a suggestion, and I think it's a relevant issue for that specific item. we should stand it down. Speaker, we should just stand that particular item down.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just want, Mr. Speaker, I want my colleague, the Deputy Minister of Finance, to know. You can attend a committee, sit in that committee, agree on everything that happens there, and still change your mind when you get to the floor. It's allowed in parliamentary practice. But, Mr. Speaker, when the plenary is demanding a document, it does not say that members of the committee have not been given. It is because when you are providing explanation, the plenary says, can we all see it? And so that doesn't mean that people were not at the committee. So we don't need to have a banter on this. Ali, we've already carved a neatest way to deal with this. We are standing it down. They are making copies for everybody. Then when everyone is having a copy, we'll come back to it. I don't think this is something that we need to scream over each other. Please.
Yes, honorable member, we are standing it down we are holding on it. We will return to it. So, leader, let's move on. We have other areas.
Speaker, item page 6. Page 26, item 49.
Yes, honorable.
Mr. Speaker, we are dealing with estimates. We are not done. So unless the chief whip opposite is going to relate out that we don't have any other estimate that is ready, then we can look at our main priority now, Mr. Speaker, is the estimate of the MMDAs. And a lot of them have been distributed, Mr. Speaker. So I don't know which one is he saying that is not ready, because I can see a lot more has been distributed. So let us know, because you want to go and do a bill. Let's finish with the estimates first.
Speaker, I want to speak to my colleague, and if you will listen. Yes, we were dealing with estimates. Speaker, we are dealing with estimates. And we've been dealing with the estimates. The one ready to be handled, which is I think, government machinery. I related to the finance committee chair and I think the ranking. And there's an issue with it they are trying to resolve. So in the meantime, the committee chair has suggested that we take item 49 on page 26. So it's on plan. I'm receiving signal from the relevant committee leadership. That is why I call that particular item. So, if my colleague will be guided. So page 26, item 49. And if we finish, we could come back to government machinery and take that motion.
Very well. Honourable members, let's turn to page 26. 26, item listed 49. By the Finance Minister.
No, Mr. Speaker, respectfully, we have to start from, and it will be done by the Finance Minister.
Yes. So the item is 48. We are beginning with 48.
Speaker, may I seek your leave for it to be done by one of our own, the Deputy Minister of Finance?
Well, leave granted. Let's hear you.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the motion captured as item 48 on page 26 of today's order paper be adopted now. I so move.
Yes, Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Well, honourable members, this procedural motion, the question is as many as are in favour of the motion, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is hereby adopted. Yes, 49.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the Revenue Administration Amendments Bill 2022 be now read a second time.
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion and in the process present your committee's report, which I request the Hansa Department to capture in full whilst I take the conclusions. Mr. Speaker, the object of the bill is to amend the Revenue Administration Act 2016, Act 915, to provide for the Commissioner General to establish a monitoring mechanism to determine or verify the actual revenue collected by a taxpayer, introduce a requirement for a tax clearance certificate for registration of vehicles and renewal of professional driving licenses, and to provide for returns in respect of the realization of an entity. Mr. Speaker, your committee reviewed it and will be making amendments during consideration stage. The Ministry of Finance that sponsored the bill has indicated its intention to amend aspects of the bill, and we'll be looking forward to contribute to that amendment. But in conclusion, the committee recommends to the House to adopt this report and pass the Revenue Administration Amendment Bill 2022 into law, subject to the amendments proposed. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable members, the motion has been moved and has been seconded. Is before the House to undertake full debate based on Standing Order 127. Yes, Rankin, may you hear you.
Mr. Speaker, rightfully so, this bill seeks to amend the Revenue Administration Bill 2022. Mr. Speaker, the object of the bill is to amend the Revenue Administration Act 2016, Act 915, to provide for the Commissioner General to establish a monitoring mechanism or verify the actual revenue collected by a taxpayer, and also to introduce a requirement for a tax clearance certificate for registration of vehicles and renewal of professional driving license. Mr. Speaker, the tax has two handles. The first leg deals with development of a monitoring mechanism in which a taxpayer will be seen in real time as to whether he's being complying with the responsibilities that is placed on the taxpayer. And the second leg is to ensure that before you renew your license and perform professional service, you have a tax clearance. Mr. Speaker, it is strange to see that the key amendment we are seeing here is that if anyone is going to register his vehicle, you will need to go with tax clearance certificate. Mr. Speaker, if this passes, before you register your vehicle, you will be compelled to go to the JRA, pay all your taxes due, and get tax clearance certificate before you can register your vehicle. Mr. Speaker, this is serious. Mr. Speaker, what is most serious and so revealing is the fact that this government is proposing that before you renew your driving license, professional driving license for trotro driver, if you want to renew your driving license, taxi driver, you will need a tax clearance certificate to get your driving license. Mr. Speaker, this is serious. Mr. Speaker, for example, the taxi driver in Edumakon, the trotro driver in Edumakon, if he wants to renew his driving license, this government is telling me, truck driver in Edumakon, to go all the way to Mankesimo, Aguna Swedro, or Cape Coast, to get tax clearance certificate before you can get driving license. What is this? Mr. Speaker, number one, is GRA in a position to have enough tax clearance certificates? The Speaker will end up chasing good money with bad money. The Speaker, the cost of administration such a tax will be so much that the Speaker, GRA will be overwhelmed. The Speaker, I think it is a terrible policy. The government must rethink about this because it will not help us. The Speaker, can you imagine Can you imagine that the cheaper truck driver, the truck driver in your constituency, the ordinary commercial driver, Mr. Speaker, this is a truck tax, Uber driver, all of this. Just like yesterday you brought application tax, today you are bringing truck tax. Mr. Speaker, let's be careful. Let's be very careful with this tax. Mr. Speaker, when we get there, I will introduce an amendment to delete it. We would delete this completely because I believe that if you want to renew your driving license, you do not require a tax clearance certificate to do it. Mr. Speaker, I've tax legislations in the last 2 days to see a president in a particular country. Mr. Speaker, I have not seen one. I wouldn't be surprised that Ghana will be the first country that a commercial driver will need a tax clearance certificate before you renew your driving license. Mr. Speaker, this must be rejected. Thank you.
I'll come to you. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, we understand that government is desperate. We understand that times are hard. And we understand that some revenue ought to be mobilized. But Mr. Speaker, if you look at our tax system, every tax system ought to be fair. It ought to be efficient. And when we talk of efficiency, the cost of collecting that tax should not be more than the revenue that you will generate from that tax. So if you spend 2 cedis to collect 1 cedi, that means that that tax system is not efficient. And then there should be what you call equity. But more importantly, that tax system ought to be simple. What we are doing, Mr. Speaker, I can understand that as for professionals, for instance, if you need your professional certificate, and we ask that you comply with our tax regulations, we can understand. Already, these truck drivers, anytime they are going to re-register their vehicles, they are compelled to. Mr. Speaker, the truth is that in this country, there are a lot of places where GRA is non-existent. If you take my district, the central Gonja district, for instance, the capital town, Bupe, GRA is non-existent. And so if the driver ought to be going all the way to Tamale to comply, it is just unfortunate. I would plead with the ministry that if you want us to cooperate with you, as for this aspect where drivers going for their licenses and registering their vehicles would have to go for tax clearance certificates, it is just too much. I mean, we are not interested in derailing government business. We are not interested in making government business difficult. But please, our constituents are watching us. We have to do things that will also satisfy the mass of the people and carry them on board. Mr. Speaker, yesterday we taxed snuff. Yes, brought charger tax. Yesterday they brought taxes on mineral water and all that. Today is a matter of taxi drivers and truck drivers. I think that even worse of all, the tractor who is operating the tractor deep in the farm has to go for a tax clearance certificate. How are you going to assess that person? Because you must assess the person, look at the person's income, and determine the taxable level that the person ought to pay. Because we are beyond a certain tax threshold problem. And so I will plead with the minister, this one, let's turn only this one down. Let us get the rest to carry through. I'm sure within 1 year, you would have monitored how it is working. And then gradually, if we need to bring people into the basket, we'll do that. So I think this is a very, very good advice. And I'm sure that if the government can listen, we would all carry ourselves on board and do what is needful for our people. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Right Honourable Speaker, I rise to contribute to
the motion on the floor. Mr. Speaker, in 2018, this House, under the current finance minister, brought a tax to this House, luxury vehicle tax. This side of the House attempted advising our colleagues on the opposite side that this tax will not work. It was too complicated. Mr. Speaker, at that time, the finance ministry attempted redefining tipper trucks, pickups on the farm as luxury vehicles. They refused. They spent Parliament's time and time of civil servants and introduced luxury vehicle tax. In 2019, they came back here and said that they got it wrong and repealed that tax. They are about to do the same thing. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, there is no Ghana Revenue's office in Adaklu district. You are telling me that the guy operating Trotro between Wire and Ho should go and look for a GRA office before he even registers. Mr. Speaker, I agree when they say that a lawyer like you, engineers and professionals, accountants should have tax clearance before they re-register for their professional practice certificate. I agree with that one. But Mr. Speaker, it's absurd. And the level of desperation of this government to the extent that asking ordinary Ghanaians that before you even get driving license, get tax clear, the guy is already unemployed. What tax do you expect him to declare? What is this, Mr. Speaker? We must all, including yourself, oppose this. In fact, when you are hungry, you can't eat stone to be satisfied. You can't squeeze that out of people who are unemployed. This is not a tax you are looking for. You are just desperate. How can an ordinary taxi driver go and look for a tax clearance certificate issuing office which doesn't exist in his district? Honorable Deputy Finance Minister, are you office in Adaklu? Are you aware? Are you aware we don't have a GRA office in Adaklu? Where should they go and get?
Honorable member, tone down.
Mr. Speaker, I urge everybody oppose this. The level of desperation of President Akufo-Addo is too much. It is. You see, when you're in government, it doesn't mean you own the country. We should grow this country together. We are telling you this is not right. The same way we told you about luxury vehicle tax, and you notoriously brought it and repealed it. You see, he said sit down. The same finance minister he said you don't want, he brought this again. You say I should sit down. Mr. Speaker, I am totally opposed to this today. I will be opposed to it tomorrow. Then if they like, they should do it like the luxury vehicle tax and pass it and come back here and repeal it. Ghanaians are watching you. The taxi driver is watching you. The Uber driver is watching you. The truck driver is watching you. Do you care about them? You don't care.
Okada is fine.
Okada? May God.
Yes. Honorable member for Sehuri also.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. My intervention will be this budget, the problem that we are facing has given us the opportunity to be on the fast track lane for a civilized society. Ideally, every Ghanaian should file their tax clearance, including even farmers. Ideally, but if we cannot do it for all the populace, everybody who is engaged in any commercial thing should be forced to declare their tax, because it is important that we file our taxes. So this is a mark or the hallmark of a civilized society. Everybody should file their tax, and I don't find anything wrong with this proposition. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let me come to the first deputy speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make a contribution on the principles of this bill. Mr. Speaker, in discussing tax responsibilities, I think the defining rule is the level of income one earns. And those are rules we make in this house. Once we make the rule, once we make the rule pegging the income, which is taxable. It does not matter who you are. It does not matter where you are. It is your responsibility as a citizen to contribute to the development of the country. It is a true pity that we tend to make politics out of these. I have not been long in this house. This is my 4th term. And I recall what Honorable Joe Ajaho told us while he was here. He said, when you are at my left, watch what you say, because when you come to the right, you will be met with the same argument. This government doesn't need revenue. Yes, this government is desperate. In fact, it must be more desperate. It should be more desperate in order to raise money to provide the things that Ghanaians want. What we should be asking is, how can we efficiently implement this tax so more revenue will be raked in? There's no point in being emotional about who or what, because if a taxi driver earns beyond the taxable income, he must pay his dues. If an Okada rider earns what is taxable, he must also earn his dues. I've heard those who say there are no revenue officers in their districts and constituencies. It may well be true. I don't know whether there's a licensing office at Adaklu. If there's no licensing office at Adaklu, but the driver at Adaklu he would be able to obtain a tax clearance certificate. I am not bothered about who has to. What I'm bothered is, how can we efficiently and conveniently do it? I think that is what, as members of parliament, we should apply our minds and our intellect to. Do we need the revenue? Yes. If you look at the budget, even with all this revenue, if you're able to collect all of them 100%, it will still not cover all our costs. And therefore, our argument should be, how can we maximize the revenue? How can we ensure that what we are collecting efficient, as suggested by the Honourable Member for Kusogu, and how will we do it so that we don't unduly inconvenience the person who has to pay? Let's put our minds together and work, because it does not matter which government is in power. Every government who comes will need that money, and it's our responsibility to ensure there is money in the coffers so that the things Ghanaians want, we can do it. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion.
Thank you. At the conclusion, honourable members, please, I have so many things to deal with, so I cannot call. Let me listen to the minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the Finance Committee for helping government raise this all-important revenue and also bring about efficiency in the way we manage our revenues. Mr. Speaker, as part of the reforms at GRA, you can now file your TCC online, so you don't need to move from Adaklu. Your tax clearance certificate online. You don't need to move to Adaklu. You don't need to move to any other place. Right on your phone, Mr. Speaker, you can apply for your tax clearance certificate. It is part of the reform. So, Mr. Speaker, it is very, very important that we include everybody who is supposed to pay tax we bring them onto the tax net. Because as we sit here, we want roads, we want schools, we want our hospitals and so many other things. And how do we do that? We only do that when we are able to raise revenue and bring about reforms, so that when we are collecting the revenues, we become more efficient. So, Mr. Speaker, you can sit in the comfort of your home, go on the internet and apply for your tax clearance certificate. Mr. Speaker, on this note, I'd like to thank everybody here and ask that you help us raise this very important revenue. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable minority leader.
Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, we are not going to waste time on this. I will say that this is a very populist way of thinking of mobilizing tax resources. When you've collected so much and wasted it, Mr. Speaker, we are just indicating that we'll come and therefore indicate to you, as we put the question, we want it to be registered by our numbers, that when this one was taken, every one of us stood against it. And I'm just serving the notice to you that in putting the question, have this at the back of your mind, that we are going to call for a head count on this one to make sure that our numbers are recorded to indicate our strong opposition to this cruel method of thinking of mobilizing resources when you collected so much and wasted it already. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So I'll put the question at the conclusion, and the question is: all those in favor of the motion listed 49 in today's order paper say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, I want to put the question again. I didn't hear. All those in favor of the motion listed 49.
Mr. Speaker, the vote. Mr. Speaker, the motion is in respect of the principles of this tax. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Speaker, our colleagues are raising issues in respect of a particular line in the amendment. I would respectfully request that we pass the principle. When we come to the clause by clause, there will be the opportunity.
We have had the principle.
Mr. Speaker, at the committee level, I have to indicate that the minority members especially raise issues in respect of the concern that the minority chief whip has raised. We're not voting yet.
Yes.
Speaker, what I recall, Speaker, a while ago, we're considering item 9. A while ago, we're considering item 9, okay, and we had a reason to stand it down. So I want to suggest to you, and Speaker, in this house, you have the final say in this matter. I want to suggest to you that we stand this particular item down and consult further on it. Speaker, we stand it down now and consult further. That is my suggestion. Speaker, and I humbly invite you to rule on this matter, that we stand it down and consult further.
Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, my colleague knows he has lost the opportunity to do this. Because, Mr. Speaker, you entered into voting time. In fact, you even called for the vote, except that you wanted to be sure and wanted to repeat. It is no longer time to be talking. So, Mr. Speaker, please, you were at voting. Let's continue at the voting. Please.
Yes.
Speaker, we are not dragging this matter, and we are working together as a house. Don't forget, a while ago we had to compromise on item 9. No, Speaker, I call for your attention that particularly on this matter, we stand it down and consult further. Speaker, I need you to rule on this matter.
Honourable members, let's hold on with the question.
Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, like I said, Mr. Speaker, like I already said, if we hadn't gotten to a point where you call for the vote, I will graciously accept what my colleagues are saying. Now, Mr. Speaker, you call for the vote. The yes shouted yes, the no shouted no. You wanted to only be sure. That's why you wanted to repeat. And Mr. Speaker, I indicated clearly to you that we are going to call for a division. It was that time that I thought that they would have taken advantage to say that, can we stand it down? So, Mr. Speaker, please, let's continue with the voting.
Mr. Speaker. Yes.
Honourable members, Abner, you want to speak? Let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to inform the House that at the consideration stage, I'll move an amendment to delete this item from the bill. Mr. Speaker, I will move an amendment to delete clause 2, which has to do. Mr. Speaker, I will move an amendment which has to do with the requirement for a tax clearance certificate for the registration of vehicles and the renewal of professional driving license. Mr. Speaker, this is the amendment I would want to propose at the consideration stage, that we delete clause 2, which states that we will need a tax for the registration of vehicles and the renewal of professional driving license.
But this is the second reading. This is the second reading.
I'm only informing the House that when it gets to the consideration stage, this is what I intend to do.
Leadership. Let me hear the leadership.
Well, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Once our colleague Honorable Abuna is giving the assurance that when we get to consideration stage, the portion in relation to the driver, vehicle and licensing authority, the two items there will be deleted. Is that an assurance is given so that we can make progress? We want to hear Mr. Speaker, because we don't want to get there and then it becomes another story.
Well. Honourable Deputy Finance Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, exactly so.
Okay, well. Majority bench. Honourable Deputy Majority Leader. So I can now put the person. So, honourable members, I will now put the person on item 49. All those in favour? Oh, what is this? Honourable members, I will now put the person on item 49. And the person is all those in favour of the motion listed 49. Say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it.
And ask to amend the Revenue Administration Act 2006.
Who is laughing?
An act to amend the Revenue Administration Act 2016 Act 915 to provide for the Commissioner General to establish a monitoring mechanism to determine or verify.
Honorable members, the Revenue Administration Amendment Bill 2022 is accordingly read the second time.
Speaker, shall we go on to page 30, page 30? 30, page 30, item 66. Item 66 on page 30. The Deputy Minister will do it. The Deputy Minister will take it. Item 66 on page 30. Deputy Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the motion listed as item 66 on page 30 of today's order paper be moved now.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Speaker, item 67 on same page. 67. 67, item 67 on page 30.
Mentio, I can hear. Honorable members, please. Yes. Yeah.
Speaker, may you now put, with respect, put the question on the procedural motion on item 66. You may have to put the question on item 66. Yes, 66 on page 30. And then we'll go back we'll go back and take the consideration for item 49. So question to be put now, Speaker.
Page 30.
Speaker, item 66 on page 30.
30.
Question, yes. Put the question, Speaker.
The Speaker, I'll put on the.
Yes, honorable member for Tamal Central, North. Let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, many of us on this floor consider it a learning platform. And we are fortunate to have senior colleagues who have been on the floor for many years, and we wish to learn from them. Mr. Speaker, clearly, the procedure that has taken place a while ago is very strange and alien to me. And Mr. Speaker, I would like your guidance and the guidance of those who know better than some of us on this floor on what has just transpired. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I do not know within our procedures when amendments are done during second reading. I have not yet been educated on that. Mr. Speaker, again, I do not know at what point you can truncate the voting process and move on as if nothing has happened. Mr. Speaker, if we are not careful, we are going to turn this house and ourselves into laughing stocks, because this house is governed by procedures, and when we begin to turn the procedures upside down and set them aside as and when it suits us, then we will be turning this place into a jungle where there will be no control. So, Mr. Speaker, I stand to be guided on what just transpired. What has happened? Have we had a vote? Has it been suspended? I do not know for the life of me under these standing orders what has just happened. I mean, what it means, what has just happened, what that means, I do not know. Mr. Speaker, so I think that we need to be educated, and I'm sure those who are also following us outside will want some education on what just transpired and what we have just done. Set aside the procedures. Have you set aside the standing orders and what has just transpired here, Mr. Speaker? I thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if our colleague says he wants some education, we should calm down and we should be quiet so we can get the education that he's talking about. Mr. Speaker, nothing has gone wrong. What Mr. Speaker did was that when the question was first put, he took the view that he was going to put the question again. And then the colleague minister said that before the speaker did that, she was going to propose something because there was kind of frantic moves in the house. She sensed it was not in the interest of anybody in the house, so she put it on record in this house that she was going to do something when it came to the consideration stage. The speaker was to put the question subject to what she was saying, and what she was saying was that when it came to the consideration stage, the two items that we are fighting about, she was going to drop them. The basis of that consideration that the speaker then put the final question, and we agreed to that. What is it that, colleague, you don't understand?
Honourable members, please, we have some estimates to consider. Please exercise restraint and let's make sure we are able to very well. So now
Speaker, with respect, we got to item 66 on page 30, and we require of you to put the question.
Leader, may you speak up a bit?
Item 6.6 on page 30. Question to be put.
Very well. Honorable members, let me invite you to page 30. Page 30, item listed 66. Item listed 66, 66. Motion by the Finance Minister. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, my standing at court was that this very bill that we just finished policy debate, that's the Revenue Administration Amendment Bill 2022. We had to understand that we will finish it and then we'll pick another. But unfortunately, the item my colleague is calling is another business. So I think that the one he wanted to really call should be item 68 to enable him take the There's what? It should be 50. Oh, okay.
So,
Speaker, we want to have an understanding and work smoothly. So the indication I'm getting is that we'll go back to item 50, page 26. 50, Speaker.
yes, leader.
Speaker, we have a duty to assist you to maintain order in this house. And Mr. Speaker, we will not disappoint you in maintaining order in this house. Therefore, the leadership, in particular the whips of both sides, must move around and ensure that you are respected in the chair whilst you maintain order. So the whips, get your men who are standing to respect the chair and to respect the mates. But Mr. Speaker, the matter raised by the Honorable Deputy Minister for Finance, I'm pleading with you to indulge me to raise, not to set us backwards, but to understand that in this house, we are guided, one, by the 1992 Constitution, and two, by our standing orders. Honorable Alassane Sohini have raised an important matter on procedure. Be as it may, Mr. Speaker, if our colleagues opposite and the Deputy Minister avert their mind to page 27 of the order paper, it is already proposed by the chairman of the committee to delete Driver and Vehicle License Authority. So, abundance of caution. So it's not a matter we should split heads over. But as a whip has advised, let's proceed and bring closure to the business of revenue administration. So, Mr. Speaker, the assurance by the Deputy Minister for Finance and what has been advertised, consistent with our standing order, must suffice and should be adequate for us to proceed further on the Revenue Administration Bill But Mr. Speaker, what the Honorable Alas and Sohini have raised, again for the record, and I bet your mind to Article 1066 of the 1992 Constitution, just to note it to guide us. Mr. Speaker, Article 1066 provides the report of the committee together with the explanatory memorandum to the bill shall form the basis of a full debate on the bill for its passage with or without amendment or its rejection by Parliament. Therefore, at any time, we are clothed with the mandate to take a decision. When we come to debating the principles, it can result otherwise. So, Mr. Speaker, tomorrow, let's be guided that when you get to the position of putting a question, so our colleagues in leadership opposite, and Mr. Speaker, you are minded. The Supreme Court ruling in Justice Abdul did not say that wait and marshal your numbers for purpose of vote. No, it said members present and voting. So government, you know you have business. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, we can proceed to pass through the other issue whilst respecting the tenets of the Constitution and our standing orders. Thank you.
Very well. So we turn to page 26, item 50. Item 50, the procedural motion. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the committee has some amendments.
Where is the one? 50, procedural motion. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the motion captured as item 50 on page 26 of today's order paper be taken today. I so move.
Yes.
I second the motion.
Honourable members, this is procedural. So the question is, all those in favor of the motion listed 50 say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. So, are you moving to 51?
Yes.
It is so, Speaker.
51?
Yes.
Very well. At the consideration stage, Revenue Administration Amendment Bill 2022 at the consideration stage. Yes, the chairman. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the committee has some amendments. And the first is clause 1. Amendment proposed. Head note. After 3A, insert of Act 915. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I support the amendment. Mr. Speaker, this is for it to read well. And it is not to create any ambiguity. So it is just for it to read well. And so, Mr. Speaker, I support the amendment.
Very well. Yes, member for Savda.
Speaker, thank you. There's no justification for this particular proposal. You should justify it. You should justify it. Sorry, you spoke to it. Okay.
So I'll put the question. I'll put the question. All those in favor of the amendment proposed to cross one, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment to cross one is carried. Table, will you read the head note, cross two?
Tax clearance certificate required.
Yes, Chairman.
Yes. Clause 2, Mr. Speaker. Amendment proposed. Add the following head note. First schedule of Act 915 amended. I so move.
Yes, Rankin.
Mr. Speaker, the justification for this amendment is pretty simple. Mr. Speaker, this is because an attempt to get trot drivers.
No, that's not the way.
The first one, the first amendment, the first schedule. Mr. Speaker, I think this is straightforward. It is straightforward as captured in it. We all agree that we have to delete it.
Well. Honourable members, there is a proposed amendment to cross two. The question is, all those in favor of the proposed amendment, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment to cross two is hereby adopted.
Clause 2.
Yes, Chairman, is there any further?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Clause 2. Amendment proposed. First schedule. Under purpose of transaction. For driver and vehicle licensing authority, delete B. Renewal of professional driving license. And A. Registration of vehicles. Mr. Speaker, the reason for the removal is that at the committee level, the ministry indicated to the committee I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Well. Honourable, there is a further proposed amendment to cross two. Yes, Honourable Rankin.
Mr. Speaker, the amendment moved by the chairman is under part 2. Under institution, you will see driver and vehicle licenses authority. And we have A, registration of vehicles, and B, renewal of professional driving licenses. Mr. Speaker, I support this wholeheartedly. Speaker, I support this for a simple reason, that this should be deleted on the grounds that we believe that professional drivers should not have tax clearance certificate before they acquire driving license. Mr. Speaker, if this passes in the way it is structured, it will mean that the professional drivers will have to engage accountants in helping them to prepare their tax returns before they get tax clearance certificate. Mr. Speaker, honestly, it will mean we are imposing costs on the already vulnerable person and others. Mr. Speaker, I think it's a good one and all of us should support this. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And so the proposal is to delete the entire driver and vehicle license, registration of vehicles, and B, renewal of professional driving license. Thank you, Mr.
Well. Honourable members, I'll put the question on the subsequent amendment. And the question is, all those in favor of the subsequent amendment to clause 2, say aye.
Aye.
All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is carried. I'll put the entire clause 2. All those in favour that clause 2 as variously amended, all those in favour say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. Clause 2 as variously amended stands part of the bill. Yes, table. Honourable members, we move to clause 3.
Second schedule amended.
Yes, Chairman.
The Speaker, amendment proposed. Clause 3, paragraph K, delete. And the reason for the amendment, Mr. Speaker, is that the Growth and Sustainability Levy Act 2022 is yet to be passed. As it's still a bill, it's yet to be passed into law, so we shouldn't have it here. The reason for the amendment.
Mr. Speaker, I support the amendment.
So it means
So we're deleting it completely. We're deleting the entire paragraph.
Very well. So all those in favour of the amendment to clause 3 by deleting K say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment is carried. Clause 4.
Third schedule amended.
Amendment proposed, Mr. Speaker, head note. After schedule, insert of Act 915. I so move.
That proposed amendment, yes, ranking.
Mr. Speaker, the rationale is because the head note, as introduced in the bill, mistakenly omitted Act 915 from the head note. So in order for it to read well and inconsistent with all what we've done in the House, it will read to include Act 915. So it is for that. Thank you.
Well. Honourable members, all those in favour of the proposed amendment? Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, I support the proposed amendment, but I'm sure we are benefiting from the modern day drafters. Mr. Speaker, when you find in clause 4, the principal enactment is amended. Which is the principal enactment? It's Act 915. We can do so for abundance of caution, but this has not been the practice of the House. I'm saying we can. You are introducing head notes and improving head notes, but in drafting, when you come to 4 and you read the principal enactment, what are you referring to? It's Act 9. No, I support it, but I'm just saying that you're taking drafting to another level. So it can pass through, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Okay, on that note, let me also direct the drafters to also take note. Drafters, take note of the issue raised. So on that note, the question is all those in favour of the proposed amendment say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the proposed amendment is carried. Deputy Minister, do you have something to say? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I seek your leave to propose a further amendment.
To clause 3?
Clause B. Mr. Speaker, the head note.
The head note.
Yes. For clause 2. Clause 2. The head note.
You've gone past clause 2.
Yes.
So you should come back. Okay, let's hear you.
I just noticed this.
So let's hear you.
Okay. So, Mr. Speaker, amendment proposed. Insert first schedule of Act 915 amended. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I second it.
Honourable members, there is a further proposed amendment to the head notes. All those of clause 2. All those in favor of the further proposed amendment say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The proposed further amendment to the head note to clause 2 is hereby adopted. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I seek your leave to oppose an amendment. The head note. Clause 3. So, insert second schedule of Act 915 amended. Thank you.
Honourable members, there is a proposed further amendment to the head notes of clause 3. Yes, Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, I support the amendment.
Well. Honourable members, all those in favor of the proposed further the head notes of clause 3 say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The proposed further amendment to the head note of clause 3 is hereby carried. So we move to clause 4. Longest. Yes. Now the long title.
An act to amend the Revenue Administration Act 2016 at 915 to provide for the Commissioner General to establish a monitoring mechanism to determine or verify the actual revenue collected by a taxpayer, to introduce the requirement of a tax clearance certificate for registration of vehicles and renewal of professional driving licenses, to provide for returns in respect of the realization of an asset or a liability and for related matters.
Honourable members, the long title, is there any amendment? Yes, honourable member for...
Mr. Speaker, I think clause 2, the chairman moved for the deletion for the removal of the renewal of the license. If you read the long title, it captures that sense which has been deleted and upheld by the House. So I think it ought to be deleted. So consequentially, I propose that we delete the renewal of professional driving licenses to capture what has been moved by the House. Leader.
What?
Mr. Speaker, we have to indulge you and seek your leave to amend the long title, because consequential to the amendment to delete it as a requirement of vehicles and renewal of professional driving license, as was moved by the chairman, you still cannot in line 4 have a repeat of those words. Have a repeat of those words. So, Mr. Speaker, you have to go to the long title to introduce the requirement for tax clearance certificates. Then you delete the words for registration of vehicles and renewal of professional driving license. Then continue from there to provide for returns in respect of the realization of an asset or a liability and for related matters. So we take off those words. Having regard to the amendment that the chairman moved in respect of drivers and it being a requirement as was carried out, because we remove for vehicles A, and B, renewal of professional driving license in page 5. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So
Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
If you read the long title, it says an act to amend the Regulation Act 2016, Act 915, to provide for the Commissioner General.
Honorable members, please, you can't hear anything.
To provide for the Commissioner General to establish a monitoring mechanism to determine or verify the actual revenue collected by a taxpayer, and to introduce the requirement for a tax clearance certificate for the registration of vehicle and renewal of professional driving license, and to provide for returns in respect of the realization of an asset or a liability and for related matters. Mr. Speaker, clearly the second leg has been deleted, so it shouldn't find its way in the long title. So the table office must take note and then delete from line 3, from 2 all the way to provide for, so that it can flow excluding the DVLA requirement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So, can you give us a rendition?
Mr. Speaker, the improved rendition in my view will read: the object of this bill is to amend the Revenue Administration Act 2016, Act 915, to provide for the Commissioner General to establish a monitoring mechanism to determine or verify the actual revenue collected by a taxpayer.
Honorable members,
introduce a requirement for a tax clearance certificate. Then you delete the rest of the words till to provide for returns in respect of the realization of an asset or a liability. So the words for registration of vehicles and renewal of professional driving license is to be deleted accordingly. Thank you. In the 4th line, I so move.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I second the proposed amendment.
So, I'll put the question to the proposed amendment of the long title. All those in favor of the proposed amendment to the long title, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it, and the proposed amendment is carried. So, honourable members, I'll put the question to the long title as amended. All those in favor that the long title as amended stand part of the bill, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The long title as amended stands part of the bill. So, drafters, please ensure that the appropriate rendition is given to the long title. Very well. Honourable members, I think that brings us to the end of the consideration stage. Yes, leader.
Speaker, item 52, page 27, please.
Honourable members, we will be in this page 27, item listed 52, motion.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the motion captured as item 52 on page 27 of today's order paper be moved today.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Honourable members, this procedural motion. The question is, all those in favor of the motion say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is carried. Now, 53. Yes, 53.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the motion captured. I beg to move that the Revenue Administration Amendment Bill 2022 be now read a third time. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. The chairman.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Honourable members, the motion has been moved and it has been seconded. It is before the House for consideration. Honourable members, I'll then put the question. All those in favour that the motion listed 53 in today's order paper, all those in favour say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is carried.
An act to amend the Revenue Administration Act 2016 at 915 to provide for the Commissioner General to establish a monitoring mechanism to determine or verify the actual revenue collected by a taxpayer, to introduce a requirement for a tax clearance certificate, to provide for returns in respect of the realization of an asset or a liability, and for related matters.
Honourable members, the Revenue Administration Amendment Bill 2022 is duly read the third time and passed. Yes, leader.
Speaker, page 30, item 66.
Honourable members, let me bring you to page 30. Page 30. Item listed 66. Motion by the Finance Minister. So the Deputy, you may take it on behalf of your Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the motion listed as item 66, captured on page 30 of today's order paper, be moved today. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, the motion is moved. Chairman.
I second the motion.
Well. Honourable members, this procedural. The question is, all those in favour of the procedural motion listed 66 in today's order paper, say aye. Aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is hereby adopted. Yes. 67.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the Electronic Transfer Levy Amendment Bill 2020 be now read a second time. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I second the motion. And in the process, I'd like to present your committee's report, the entire content of which I request the Hansard Department to capture whilst I take the conclusions. Mr. Speaker, the object of the bill is to amend the Electronic Transfer Levy Act 2022 Act 1075 to reduce the levy on electronic transfers to 1%, to provide for the filing of returns and the time for the payment of the levy. Mr. Speaker, your committee, having met with the sponsors of the bill and having convinced ourselves that the bill was good for revenue mobilization, recommends to this House to adopt this report and pass the Electronic Transfer Levy Amendment Bill 2022 into law. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Well, thank you. The ranking.
Mr. Speaker, I also rise to speak to the motion that the Electronic Transfer Levy Amendment Bill 2022 be now read the second time. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, it is obvious that the Ministry of Finance have begun to listen. Mr. Speaker, I say this because if you are to read the budget statement, paragraph 221, Mr. Speaker, if I beg to read on your so that members can appreciate it. Mr. Speaker, it says that the government has received several proposals for review of the electronic transfer levy, working closely with all stakeholders to evaluate the impact of the levy in order to decide on the next line of action, which will include revision of the various exclusions. As a first step, however, the headline rate will be reduced by 1% of the transaction value, alongside the removal of daily thresholds. Mr. Speaker, what we were informed in the budget was to do two things. First, to reduce the e-levy rate from 1.5 to 1%. And second, to remove the daily threshold of 100 cedis. Mr. Speaker, we in the minority had indicated strongly that we do not believe that the 100 cedis threshold must be removed. Mr. Speaker, because of a number of reasons. The first is because, Mr. Speaker, the 100 cedi threshold, is to, one, protect the vulnerable and to protect them from paying taxes on electronic transfer. However, Mr. Speaker, it is also important for us to understand that the electronic levy, the e-levy itself, at the time they introduced the 100 cedis exemption as a threshold, the currency for the value of the 100 cedis from the time they introduced the tax to today has been eroded. Mr. Speaker, if you are to use the deflator, the inflation deflator to adjust, it is obvious to know that the 100 cedis, then the value of 100 cedis at the time, in today's time, is about 40-something Ghana cedis. So clearly, I do not see why the ministry will have to remove this. Mr. Speaker, what the ministry has done is that they have listened, and in presenting the e-levy bill, Mr. Speaker, clearly they have decided to remove what they had intended to exclude. Mr. Speaker, it is important for us to commend them. For at the minimum, they have listened. Mr. Speaker, but you see, the other point had to do with the fact that they are reducing the rate to 1%. Mr. Speaker, our position is that this tax must be removed completely. But since we have not been able to achieve that position, and government has said that they want to reduce it from 1.5 to 1%, it's our prayer that next year again they reduce it to 0.5, and the following year, in the year 2025, we will completely abolish it completely. Because, Mr. Speaker, we believe that it's a tax that has no space, it's a tax that is distortionary, and our position on this e-levy still remains. But as long as we cannot achieve that, and government has made an effort to reduce the rate from 1%, Mr. Speaker, we cannot be the same people to oppose it. If we don't want it at all, and rather they are reducing the burden on an ordinary person, we can only support them to reduce the burden. But it's my hope that in the next budget, the minister will remove the entire e-levy because, Mr. Speaker, it is indeed obnoxious. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable members. Yes, let me call the Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to also speak to the motion and ask that we support the motion based on the fact that the point raised by the ranking member of the Finance Committee are the reasons why we are supporting this motion. Mr. Speaker, when the issue of e-levy came in 2021, we made our position clear that the position of we from this side of the house is that the tax should not be imposed at all. And we also, what happened, we did our best, but the other side of the house were able to pass it. The minister in 2001 projected to raise about 6.9 billion Ghana cedi from e-levy. And eventually, at the end, the amount raised was around 500 million Ghana cedi. For this 2023, it is projected that the e-levy will rake in another 2.2 billion Ghana cedi. The approval of this is our hope that the e-levy will rake in 2.2. Mr. Speaker, it is our wish that the threshold is 100 to protect the vulnerable, to protect the poor. Initially, the government made an indication that they will even remove the threshold. But since they have listened to all the views from all other sides to maintain the 100, we will go with them. I hope that in future the threshold can be increased to at least 200 or even 300 today. That is what we wish. But for now, we want to support government so that 2.2 billion can be raised from the e-levy. Mr. Speaker, our position as minority is that when you are collecting this levy, there are challenges with the system where some people, even when they transfer 20 cedis, they are charged. We want to urge the Ministry of Finance to work on the system so that the threshold of 100 is observed, so that when I'm transferring 50 Ghana cedi, I should not be charged, because that is what most people have experienced. When they are transferring within the threshold, they are still charged the 1.5. Now that you are bringing it to 1%, and you are maintaining the threshold at 100, I think I will support government to ensure that the 2.2 billion is realized by government. On that note, Mr. Speaker, I want to support and urge that all of us support this motion. I thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to add my voice to the debate on the floor. And I must state that, Mr. Speaker, I rise squarely in support of this motion. Mr. Speaker, this government is a pro-poor government. A government that has introduced many social intervention programs. Key among these, education. Now, Mr. Speaker, government, upon assumption of office, Mr. Speaker, used many taxes and abolished many more. It is therefore coming up with these levies as a matter of necessity. Mr. Speaker, just for the avoidance of doubt and in support of this motion, I would like to state for the record that, Mr. Speaker, this government, true to its promise, abolished in 2017 duty on importation of spare parts, levies imposed on Kaya by local authorities, excise duty on petroleum, special petroleum tax rate from 17.5 was reduced to 15%, 5% VAT and NHI on real estate sales. Mr. Speaker, that was abolished. The 17% VAT NHI on domestic airline tickets was also abolished. The 17% VAT on financial services was abolished. Mr. Speaker, the 1% special import levy was abolished.
It's relevant. It's relevant.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes, it is.
2% special import levy, Mr. Speaker, which was introduced, was also abolished. Mr. Speaker, what is the relevance? The relevance is, and in fact, the metaphor here is that whereas government abolished all these taxes that it inherited, it managed to introduce social intervention programs, and it has become necessary today to impose this levy to sustain the economy. So we are happy that you are supporting this drive. And at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, the people of Ghana will benefit, and it is clearly
Leader, hold on a bit for me.
For the introduction of this.
Leader, hold on a bit for me. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the deputy majority leader, like you rightly said, we have a lot of business to carry on today. The rightful thing for him to do as a deputy majority leader should have been to apologize to this house of the house. The Honorable Harun Idrisu gave you 1% during. Today you go back to it. And we said reinstate the threshold and we pass it. You have done that. Just thank us, apologize to us, and Mr. Speaker will put a question.
Leader, let's hear you.
Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we are in a certain mood, so I will not want to respond to that invitation. But Mr. Speaker, for the record, Honorable Harun Idrisu in this chamber said that he has never proposed 1%. No, he said so. He's here. He says that He says that Honorable Harun Idrisu proposed 1%, and we did not accept it. We should apologize to him. But Mr. Speaker, Honorable Harun Idrisu, when the similar matter arose, said he has never said anywhere, or he never said anywhere that the e-levy should be 1%. He says so. But if he says Honorable Harun Idrisu says so, Mr. Speaker, the record will speak. I rest my case.
Mr. Speaker, what the deputy majority leader said is not true. Minority leader did not say here on the floor. Wait, the day you raised a point, he was not here. He was not in the chamber. I stood up and said that minority leader did not say that we should pay 1% on the floor. He wasn't here. He didn't say it. So now you are saying that he did it. He wasn't the one. I said it here on the floor here that he did not say it on the floor. So you have to correct yourself. What you say is wrong.
Yes, leader.
He didn't say
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, my mother said that I should try so that my witnesses are alive when I make reference to them. Mr. Speaker, what the deputy leader is saying, you are my witness. The Honorable Second Deputy Speaker. Oh, he is my witness. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you recall, you were sitting to my left in the room at the negotiation table with the government officials, which included Honorable Abena, Charles Dubois, the Honorable Kandapa. And Mr. Speaker, even though my tree is not good, you recall when I said that put e-levy at 1% and the threshold at 500. Mr. Speaker, you tapped my thigh and said, oh, Haruna, it was through Hodudo. And I said, Mr. Speaker, in the Bravo Mayor, if you remember. So this was not in this chamber. It was part of the proposal negotiating matters relating to Ejapa. So the Honorable Ahmed is right. Which you rejected, Mr. Speaker. And you remember it was with difficulty that I had to lead the walk out after the rejection. Today they have come to some appreciation of it. But let them be reminded, Mr. Speaker, that there is nothing wrong with this side of the House saying that we are opposed to a policy because it's unpopular, and we are opposed to a policy because it does not do good to our quest to build a cashless economy. So my witness is Second Deputy Speaker. So rest your case and let them put the question. And now you appreciate. Next time, we'll teach you how best even to make money from e-levy. You've just created an opportunity for a significant market shareholder and not the state and the Republic of Ghana. I thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable members. At the conclusion of the debate, the question is, all those in favor of the motion listed 67 in today's order paper say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, it's obvious the ayes have it. The motion is adopted.
An act to amend the Electronic Transfer Levy Act 2020 1075 to reduce the levy on electronic transfers to 1%, to provide for the filing of returns, the time for the payment of the levy, and for related matters.
Honorable members, the Electronic Transfer Levy Amendment Bill 2022 is accordingly read a second time. Yes, leader.
Speaker, page 31, item 68, page 31.
Yes, honorable members, we are turning to page 31. Page 31, item listed 68. Motion by the Minister for Finance. Abner, you may take it on behalf of your minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the motion listed as item 68 on page 31 of today's order paper be taken now.
Very well. Chairman.
I second the motion.
Honorable members, the motion has been moved and it has been seconded. I believe this is procedural, and the question is, all those in favor of the procedural motion listed 68 in today's order paper say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. Procedural motion is hereby adopted. Now we move to 69, the same page. So it means we are moving to consideration stage. Electronic Transfer Levy Amendment Bill 2022 at the consideration stage. Very well. Chairman, I believe there's no amendment. So we will mention the clauses. Clause 1.
Section 1 of Act 1075 amended.
Honourable members, all those in favor that clause 1 stands part of the bill say aye. All those against say no. The ayes have it. Clause 1 stands part of the bill. We move to clause 2.
Sections 3A and 3B inserted.
Honourable members, all those in favor that clause 2 stands part of the bill say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, clause 2 stands part of the bill. Clause 3.
Section 10 of Act 1075 amended.
Honourable members, all those in favor that clause 3 stands part of the bill say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, clause 3 stands part of the bill. Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, I can appreciate your speed. When it came to clause 2, I just want to find out from Chairman whether there was an amendment to the head note in 2. Because for consistency, you are saying section 10 of Act 1075 amended. If that was not done, then there must be the head note in 2. Honourable Patrick Boama, if you are following, it must also read section 3A and 3B of Act 1075 be amended, and then it becomes a new head note. Thank you. Just for consistency, but if it was done,
Mr. Speaker, I agree with you.
Very well. We will then move to long title.
act
Oh,
to
leader,
amend.
hold on. Hey, table, hold on.
Mr. Speaker, a new head note in clause 2, section 3 and 3B of Act 1075. Okay, they are right. Here it says inserted. Yes, it's inserted, so that's okay too.
So
I'll withdraw. What pass can stand? Thank you.
Okay, very well. So we move to long title.
An act to amend the Electronic Transfer Levy Act 2022, Act 1075, to reduce the levy on electronic transfer to 1%, to provide for the filing of returns, the time for the payment of the levy, and for related matters.
Honourable members, all those in favour that the long title stands part of the bill, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, the long title stands part of the bill. So, conclusion. So, I believe we will come to the end of the consideration stage. Very well. Yes, leader.
Speaker, item number 70 on same page.
Yes, we are on the same page. Item listed 70. Item listed 70. Let me invite the finance minister. So, Deputy Finance Minister, you may take the motion on behalf of the Finance Minister. Abner. 7-0, yes.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the motion captured as item 70 on page 31 of today's order paper be moved today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Honourable members, this is procedural. So the question is, all those in favour of the motion listed 70, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion listed 70 in today's order paper is hereby adopted. Now we move to 71. Motion by the Finance Minister. Abner, you may take it on behalf of the Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the motion captured as item 71 on page 31. I beg to move that the Electronic Transfer Levy Amendment Bill 2022 be now read the third time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, the motion.
Honourable members, the motion has been moved and has been seconded. The motion is therefore before the House for consideration. I will now put the question, and the question is, all those in favour of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, it's obvious the ayes have it. The motion is carried.
An act to amend the Electronic Transfer Levy Act 2022, Act 1075, to reduce the levy on electronic transfers to 1%, to provide for the filing of returns, the time for the payment of the levy, and for related matters.
Honourable members, the Electronic Transfer Levy Amendment Bill 2022 is duly read the third time and passed. Yes, leader.
Speaker, page 5. Page 5, item 13. And Speaker, I'll seek your leave for it to be taken by the Deputy Leader.
Yes, honorable members, come with me to page 5. Page 5, item listed 13. Deputy Majority Leader will take it on behalf of his boss.
Mr. Speaker, if you'll be pleased, I move this House to approve the sum of 386,047,606 Ghana cedis for the services of the Electoral Commission for the year ending 31st December 2023. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Leader. Yes. Who is seconding it? Yeah, honorable member for Asokwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion and present to you your committee on the special budget for 2023, the special budget estimate for 2023 for Electoral Commission. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, I'd like to draw the attention of the Hazard Department to adopt the report in its entirety. In doing so, Mr. Speaker, there are certain observations that, in doing so, Mr. Speaker, we go on to some observations that were made. The first observation was that the Commission has successfully conducted inspections of party offices across the country to ensure compliance with the Political Parties Act, and the Commission subsequently evoked the sanctions regime in the Political Parties Act on all defaulting political parties by deleting such parties from the register. Mr. Speaker, the second observation is the committee.
Honorable member, Honorable Chairperson, I believe members have copies, so if you can move to conclusion.
Okay.
So that
Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the committee, having carefully scrutinized the estimates of the Electoral Commission, recommended to the House to adopt its report and approve the sum of 386,047,606 Ghana cedis for the implementation of the programs of the Electoral Commission for the 2023 financial year. I so celebrate.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, the motion has been moved and it has been seconded. It's before the House for consideration. Yes, let me invite Honorable Member for Southern.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to make some comments in support of the motion presently on the floor and for its adoption. Mr. Speaker, interestingly, the EC, for instance, asked for 10 million Ghana cedis as skippers for 2022. Mr. Speaker, it will interest the House to know that they got zero. The Finance Ministry gave them nothing. They asked for only 10 million Ghana cedis. They gave them nothing. And it was even revised down to 7 million. 7.2. And yet, the Finance Ministry refused to give them anything. How can such an important constitutional body carry out its functions when you give them nothing for keepers? So, Mr. Speaker, when we continue to implore the Finance Ministry in this chamber, I find it very interesting. I said it 3 days ago. I said it yesterday. We must move away from begging the Finance Ministry to make releases to now make demands. When we approve allocations for state agencies, It is their duty to make the releases. If they have any difficulties, they must come back to this house. But without any explanation, you cannot fail to give Electoral Commission any amount for their capers. Mr. Speaker, the committee observed that in 2022, the Electoral Commission asked for 68 million. They were given only 47 million. And that was for compensation. So I want to find out how the Electoral Commission was able to pay its employees. And it is very serious. Mr. Speaker, this is because in 2023 they are asking for more. They are asking for 75 million. If you ask for 68 million and you got 47 million, how is it that you ask for 75 and expect that you will be given 75 million? It also means that the Electoral Commission may be recruiting, because clearly they are going to undertake assembly elections in 2023. So we don't want the Ministry of Finance to toy with with activities of the Electoral Commission in 2023, because the district assembly elections are very critical for our socio-political development. Mr. Speaker, let me deal with the thorny matter of voters' registration. The Electoral Commission says that since the conduct of the 2020 elections, they have been unable to conduct new voter registration for persons who have turned 18 since then. Mr. Speaker, however, under CI 91 and CI 126, the Electoral Commission is already mandated in law to conduct elections for persons who have turned 18 in the interim. So why do you wait and say that you need a new CI in order to unlimit registration? So, Mr. Speaker, the Electoral Commission, we have told the Electoral Commission that the existing regulatory regime governing its operations already mandated in law to conduct limited voter registration for persons who have turned 18. Mr. Speaker, the other matter that I want to comment on, the fact that they have said clearly that they need in excess of 453 million Ghana cedis in order to conduct the forthcoming district assembly elections. However, they have been capped at 200 million. Mr. Speaker, the implication clearly is that either the Electoral Commission must go outside of government sources to look for funding, or they will have to scale down on the activities that they will undertake leading to the conduct of the 2023 district level elections. And it is very worrying. Worrying because there is a constitutional body. So the executive cannot use its discretion to whittle away Mr. Speaker. So with these words, whether few or much, I pray that the motion, the report be adopted, so we make progress. I thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Member for BM.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I would like to make a few comments in support of the motion that we approve the allocations for the Electoral Commission for its duties for the fiscal year 2023. In doing so, Mr. Speaker, I want to look at the 2022 performance. And Mr. Speaker, you would observe that in the area of goods and services, the Electoral Commission got only 43.77% of what has been allocated them. This is the reason why when Electoral Commission is conducting elections for political parties, they are compelled to take funds from political parties to conduct their internal elections. The conduct of elections of political parties is a public election and is part of the responsibility of the Electoral Commission. If their goods and services allocation is not released to them, they are unable to perform this function and perform it effectively. It is therefore worrying that only 43% of the amount allocated for goods and services will be released to the Electoral Commission to perform their function. It is our prayer that in 2023, this crime will not be repeated. Mr. Speaker, one other assignment the Electoral Commission raised as their core function is demarcating electoral boundaries for both national and local government elections. Mr. Speaker, we will not be approving this budget allocations for them without making a comment about the good people of Gowan, the people of Central Kofi, Akpafu, Likpe, and Lolobi, who were denied an opportunity to elect their representative. Till now, no step has been taken to create a constituency. The Electoral Commission must not continue to delay this exercise. They must clearly, in this ensuing year, take steps to create the constituency for Guam. No district, Mr. Speaker, should exist in this country without a constituency. No district. And that is the law. The Guam district was created in November 2020, long before the 2020 general elections. For that district to still be standing without a constituency is an aberration. That must be corrected. And the Electoral Commission must take steps immediately to make sure that this constituency is so created. Whether they will conduct elections to have a representative in the 8th Parliament or not is another issue. But its creation must happen. It must happen separate from any other agenda that they may have. It is clear that failure to do that will lead to us not approving some of their support services. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I see you indicating your word. So with these few words, I would like to support the motion that we approve the allocation for Electoral Commission. Thank you.
Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, I like to speak in support of the adoption of the committee's report on the Electoral Commission of Ghana. Once we have adopted competitive multi-party constitutional democracy, we will need a referee, a true referee in the Electoral Commission to supervise political accountability of the election of the President, the election of members of Parliament, and the conduct of elections of persons under Article 55 of the Constitution. But, Mr. Speaker, for our purposes today, there is one important issue, and the chairperson is aware that I had initially served notice that if we do not get assurance from the chairperson of the Electoral Commission and her deputies and the Commission, we will not support the approval of their budget. And Mr. Speaker, may I with respect refer you to Article 42 of the 1992 Constitution, which is the basis of my objection that the Electoral Commission must behave in a manner that they respect the letter and spirit of Article 42. Mr. Speaker, it reads, every citizen of Ghana of 18 years of age or above and of sound mind has the right to vote. And Mr. Speaker, the emphasis is mine, and is entitled to be registered as a voter. And is entitled to be registered as a voter for the purpose of public elections and referenda. Mr. Speaker, for the whole of 2021, the EC failed to register Ghanaians who have attained 18 years of age. It means that they are being held in denial. Assuming there is a by-election or any election, that category of Ghanaians who have attained 18 since 2021 will not be considered as eligible. Mr. Speaker, 2022, the Electoral Commission again failed to register those who have attained 18 years, as required in Article 42. It means, Mr. Speaker, if we approve their budget today, January 1st, January 2nd, some Ghanaians would have attained 18 years. It means that 3 cohorts of persons who are qualified, who are entitled to be registered as voters, denied this constitutional right. Parliament is also a guardian of fundamental human rights and freedoms. So in that respect, Mr. Speaker, we serve notice that if the Electoral Commission does not give us notice, we are given some assurance that the first quarter of 2023, we will observe and see. But that is unacceptable, because constitutionally, even in other jurisdictions, it should be possible that any person who attains 18 years should be able to go to the offices of the EC in any district, in any region, in order to be captured. When you talk about Ghana going digital, that's what we should do. It must become an all-round daily affair, because every other day somebody observes a birthday. So, Mr. Speaker, we have strong reservation. Now, Mr. Speaker, the other issue for which the public have been so confused is this debate of EC and National Identification Authority. Nobody has a problem using national ID as basis for registration. But we are saying that the current constitutional instrument CI 126 does not prevent the EC, in accord with Article 45 of the Constitution, to exercise their power and mandate to register voters. So they have no business saying that we won't register new voters until we introduce a new constitutional instrument. That will amount to acquiescence and sleeping on that mandate. Mr. Speaker, let it also be said that the data collected by EC and the data collected by National Identification Authority will never ever be treated by this side of the House as the same. The National Identification Authority is under the supervision of the Honorable Minister for Interior. He is an appointee of the President, and he regulates that body called National Identification Authority. So that data is subject to his control. The Electoral Commission in Article 46 provides that it shall not be subject to the direction and control of any person or authority. We cannot say so for the national ID card, because they are subject to the direction and control of the Honorable Minister for Interior. Legitimate. But when they have data and say they have 17 million people on their roll, then the Electoral Commission of Ghana has 16 million. There is a discrepancy. And we want a reconciliation of the discrepancy of Ghana, including the Volta region, Northern region, Upper East, Upper West. Amount of cards issued is not the same thing as person for the national ID card. Mr. Speaker, is it also not significant for us to ask how come that the data they collected with $80 million only 3 years ago is no longer a reference document for purpose of a guarantee? Yet, they say the best voter register with improvement with eyelashes even as basis for it. So, Mr. Speaker, our objection, and I mentioned it to the majority leader, is that we want, and at Business Committee we agreed, we want both the EC and NIA to appear before the Committee of the Whole, region by region, district by district, and we do a reconciliation to satisfy ourselves that every person who deserves to have the Ghana card indeed has it. But, Mr. Speaker, we still have concerns with the EC wanting to rely on data from the National Identification Authority. But harmonizing and synchronizing data will require that. But we are worried about the regulatory conduct of a Minister for Interior who has interests. He would want to protect the interests of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I don't expect the Electoral Commission to be because he's an appointee of the President. So, Mr. Speaker, we can approve it with those assurances that whatever constitutional instrument they want to lay, they should open up the voter register in accord with Article 42 of the Constitution. Then, Mr. Speaker, there are goods and services. I think that next year they will conduct this assembly election, and we are making a case that public education, we still have a lot of votes which are rejected. With these comments and assurances, Mr. Speaker, I support that 386 million be approved for the purpose of the Electoral Commission. And then we know that the chairperson didn't appear before our committee in person. Second time she's done that, even though she gave us an excuse that she was abroad in London for medical purposes. This cannot continue. I thank you.
Honourable members, at the conclusion of the debate, all those in favour of the motion say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted, and that this House has approved the sum of 386,047,606 cedis for the services of the Electoral Commission for the year ending 31st December 2023.
Speaker.
We are laying.
Speaker, item 6B, I on page 3.
Very well. So we are laying B, I, and IV.
If I may emphasize this, we are taking 6B, I, just the two.
I. Very well. Yes, honourable members, come with me to page 3. Page 3. Item listed B. I. At the commencement of public business by the chairman of the Finance Committee. I.
Report of the Finance Committee on the Value Added Tax Amendment Number 2 Bill 2022.
Honourable members, the report has been duly presented. It is for distribution to honourable members. I.
Report of the Finance Committee on the Earmark Funds Capping and Realignment Amendment Bill 2022.
Honourable members, the report has been duly presented. The reports are to be distributed to honourable members.
Speaker, if you may indulge me, finally we'll take V on page 4, V. page 4, item V. 6B VIN.
V.
VIN for violin.
Reports of the Finance Committee on the Appropriation Bill 2022.
Very well, honorable members. Yes, leader.
Item 20 on page 7. Item 20, page 7.
Well, very well. Honorable members, let's turn to page 7, item listed 20. Motion by the chairman of the appointment committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House adopts the 29th report of the Appointments Committee on the President's nominees for appointment as Minister and Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. Mr. Speaker, proceed. I'd like to effect a few amendments in the report. The Speaker, on page 9, under paragraph 5.4, the last but one line, the nominee thanked the UNFPA. Honourable members, please delete UNDP and insert UNFPA. For sponsoring, please delete sponsoring and insert supporting. So the new rendition will be: the nominee thanked the UNFPA for supporting the ministry to support the women. The Speaker, in accordance with Article 1442 of the 1902 Constitution, His Excellency the President, on Tuesday, 25th October 2022, communicated to the House the nomination of Honorable Laribazuera Abudu, Honorable MP and Minister-designate as Minister-designate for Children and Social Protection, and Honorable Francisca Otin Mensah as MP and Deputy Minister-designate for the same ministry. The Speaker, the committee went through all the motions advertised in newspapers of national circulation for memoranda from the public. The Speaker, on Thursday last week, sat in public to consider the nominations. The Speaker, the report contains all the issues the members referred to, questions asked by the members. The nominees asked questions in respect of Girls in ICT program, special needs policy, effects on obstetric fistula on women, the increasing number of street children, share not business, women's views on the nominees' views on LGBTI, the improving the management of orphanages, and the Speaker, they also spoke about the old people's home at Bekwai. The Speaker, finally, the members concluded that the committee, in the light of the provisions of Article 78(1) of the 1902 Constitution and the Standing Order 172, recommend the nominees, recommend to the House to adopt the report and approve by consensus Ms. Larry Bazuera Abudu as Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, and Honorable Francisca Otim-Mensah as her deputy. I so conclude.
Very well. Honorable Minority Leader, before I give you the opportunity, let me bring to your attention that motion number 19 ought to have been taken first before 20. And so you should have taken the procedural motion first. But since we are masters of our own, honorable members, we deemed as having been moved. So, table, let's take it as motion 19 have been moved.
Mr. Speaker, for the record to
capture chair and take note
the record to capture it properly, moved by the chair and seconded by me.
Very well.
For the record, for the suspension of our standing orders. Thank you.
Very well. So, table, take it that this procedural motion was moved by the chair, seconded by the minority leader. Now, the minority leader, you can second the
Mr. Speaker, is to thank the chair of our committee, the Appointments Committee, the first deputy speaker, and to support the recommendation that Ms. Larbazuera Abudu be confirmed by consensus as Minister Designate for Gender, Children and Social Protection, to take away from our colleague who has been indisposed with some demanding explanations and answers as to her whereabouts as Member of Parliament and Minister for State. Then, Mr. Speaker, also to recommend Ms. Francisca Otim-Mensah as Deputy Minister of Children and Social Protection. But, Mr. Speaker, with the appointment of the Deputy Minister, just for the purpose of the record, may I, with respect, Mr. Speaker, refer you to Article 79. Mr. Speaker, Article 79 of the 1992 Constitution. Because we see Larbazuera, Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. Then, when you read the President's appointment letter, Article 79(1) reads, and I quote, "The President may, in consultation with a Minister of State and with the prior approval of Parliament, appoint one or more Deputy Ministers to assist the Minister in the performance of his functions." So, Mr. Speaker, materially, who did the President consult? Which minister did the President consult? Because who did the President consult? There is no Minister for Gender and Children. We are now coming to appoint the Minister. So the President must be upholding the letter and spirit of the Constitution. That's why in many ministries, the chemistry is not working because the President didn't consult well. Some deputy ministers are just functioning at their ministries. We are told they are unhappy. Ministers don't give them even assignments, and ministers don't delegate anything to them. So it is for a purpose that Article 79 was provided, so that the President will consult the minister. So Minister for Roads means Minister for Roads. When you say Minister for Gender, and the President appoints a Deputy Minister for Gender, when there is no Minister for Gender, who did the President consult? The acting or the while away minister? We don't know who he consulted. But, Mr. Speaker, they are all elected members of Parliament who have satisfied the requirement of Article 4 of the 1992 Constitution, which is the primary legal threshold and constitutional threshold to qualify to be minister is to be member of Parliament. It's just, Mr. Speaker, in respect of Francisca Otim-Mensah, some matter was raised about conflict of interest as to her role as chairperson of the National Youth Authority, which is being considered by the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. one would want to await the final outcome of what the investigation is. But once she's an elected member of parliament, as I've indicated, and I've met the requirements of 94, we have no objection to Ajia Larba. For Larba, who comes from Wale Wale, I'm sure it's a higher elevation because people from that part of the country never really get to this level. So I want to congratulate her. My sister is not, the vice president is not a woman. I know your aspiration. I'm not talking about yours. The vice president is not a woman. I'm talking about Larba from Wale Wale. The Honorable Minister for Tourism will tell you she has come far from Wale Wale to Minister of the Republic of Ghana. I wish her well. We hope that she will work towards the affirmative action bill, the spousal rights to property bill, and then work to improve gender parity in all aspects of our national life. Aja Alima was from Nalirigo. Even further away from Wale Wale, you are right. But with this, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion.
Well, honorable members, at the conclusion of the debate, the question is all those in favor of the motion listed 20 in today's order paper say aye. Aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. And that this honorable house has accordingly approved the nominations of His Excellency the President, of the Minister and Deputy Minister for Gender, Children, Social Protection in accordance with Article 78(1) and Article 79(1) of the 1992 Constitution, respectively.
Speaker, page 5, item 10. 10, page 5. Speaker, let me, with respect, seek your leave for one of our own, the Minister for Roads and Highways, to take it.
Who?
The Minister for Roads and Highways. Roads and Highways.
Yes, offer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, now it's officially recognized.
It's my uncle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to move motion number.
Honorable Yabuama, why? He's the Minister for Roads and Highways. Yabuama, Minister for Roads and Highways.
We don't know any Wafa here. From Wafa to Father Wafa, then Senior Prefect.
Well, Honorable Minister for Roads and Highways.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to move motion listed as number 10 on page 5 for today's order paper, that this honorable house approved the sum of 1,328,303,634 Ghana cedis for the services of the Office of Government Machinery for the year ending 31st December 2023. Mr. Speaker, I so move. I thank you.
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion and in the process submit your committee's report. But it's important, Mr. Speaker, it's important to state that the recommendation of the committee to this House is less than the request that came to Parliament. The Minister has just said on behalf of the Minister of State at the Office of the President that the amount was 1,428,303,634 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, the amount for which we seek this House's approval is 1,410 712,912 Ghana cedis.
Honorable Chairman, may you take the figures again?
The figure for which we seek approval for the Office of Government Machine is 1,410,712,912 Ghana cedis. That is, I'm making a correction to what the minister moved. I am stating what the committee is requesting. Mr. Speaker, your committee met with officials from the Office of the President and reviewed the request. And the observations of the committee have been captured. I request the Hansa Department to capture the entire content. I take us to the conclusion. But before I do that, the Speaker, I'd like to explain the reason for the reduced figure which I have just mentioned. The committee observed that the budget estimates for the Office of Government Machinery for 2023 includes the amount of 15,568,802 for Special Development Initiatives Secretariat and an amount of 2,021,920 Ghana cedis for Monitoring and Evaluation Secretariat. The committee, after thoroughly considering the estimates, came to a consensus that the national development authorities established by law are capable of managing their affairs without the need for a bureaucratic secretariat to coordinate and at times duplicate the functions of these authorities, whilst ambulance operations ought to be properly handled by the National Ambulance Service and not the Special Development Initiative Secretariat. Also, the monitoring and evaluation functions is performed across MDAs and MMDAs, and hence there's no compelling need to maintain a secretariat for same, especially in an era where expenditure rationalization is of utmost importance. In the circumstances, the committee agreed to remove the administrative expenditure allocation to Special Development Secretariat and monitoring and evaluation secretariats totaling 17,590,722 Ghana cedis. The committee recommends the closure of these secretariats. The committee thus recommends to the House to reduce the allocation to the Office of Government Machinery from 1,428,303,634 Ghana cedis to 1,410,712,912 Ghana cedis. The committee respectfully submits this, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to speak to the motion that was moved and seconded by the Chairman of the Finance Committee. Mr. Speaker, it is instructive to note that the Finance Committee of Parliament managed to save this country an amount of almost 18 million cedis. Mr. Speaker, this is because we noticed as part of the deliberations that even though we have development authorities that have been established by law with its own boards, governing boards, the Office of Government Machinery has a Special Development Initiative Secretariat that the government has apportioned 15.6 million Ghana cedis to oversee the work of these development authorities. Mr. Speaker, we think this is needless. We think the time has come for us not to behave as if we are rubber stamp, but to cut needless expenditures anytime we see them. Mr. Speaker, this is one of the needless expenditures. So we felt strongly And the members of the Finance Committee, Mr. Speaker, felt that there is the need to send a signal. Paying frivolous expenditures, we will cut them. Mr. Speaker, accordingly, we cut them as such. Mr. Speaker, as if that is not enough, we saw Monitoring and Evaluation Secretariat. The Monitoring and Evaluation used to be a ministry. The President disbanded the ministry. But Mr. Speaker, it will surprise you to note that even though they disbanded the ministry, the officers and that ministry have been employed at the office of the President doing virtually nothing. So, Speaker, I think this is a job for the boys. And so, Mr. Speaker, we took a strong view that we believe that the amount that has been appropriated to these two units, the Special Development Initiative Secretariat and the Monitoring and Evaluation Secretariat, be taken off. It is up to the government to reallocate the staff to where they are needed most. And if at any point in time the President thinks that they don't need their services, Speaker, they should make them redundant. Some of the staff largely are being paid under Article 71 for doing nothing. Speaker, we believe strongly that this practice should not be encouraged. Speaker, in view of that, the committee has made a savings of 17,590,722 Ghana cedis. Speaker, what we did was we reduced the appropriations amount by that amount. So if we were to look into the budget statement, the appropriation, the amount that they are requesting for under the Office of Government Machinery is reduced by that document. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we are recommending to the House to approve the appropriated amount to the Office of Government Machinery minus the items going to these two sectors. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe this work should not be done by only the Finance Committee. The other sector ministries, committees must do same. They should look deep, and where possible, things that we believe is not in the interest of the country must be cut. The power of the purse is with Parliament, it is not with the executive. And so anytime we feel very strongly about something, Mr. Speaker, there's the need for us to be bold and remove them accordingly to save the taxpayer some money. Mr. Speaker, this is critical, particularly at a time that our country is going through economic action. At the time that we are calling on everyone to pay something, particularly the haircut. Mr. Speaker, if you want someone to cut his hair, you should cut your hair at home first. So we are starting cutting the hair from the office of the President. We should extend it, Mr. Speaker, to everywhere, not only the office of the President. The sector committees should also be cutting expenditure and not always be asking for more money for sector ministries. Mr. Speaker, that practice must go down. You are calling on others to cut their hair. So, Mr. Speaker, I call on this House that we should be in expenditure cutting mood instead of asking for additional expenditure. Mr. Speaker, this is what I've been hearing. Everybody's asking for, give me additional money. Where is the money coming from? Where is the money coming from? You want us to borrow more. Mr. Speaker, that should stop. And that is why I support strongly the Capping and Realignment Act. And when we get them, Mr. Speaker, we will deal with it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let him go into Asri Jaman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to support this motion. Mr. Speaker, I do not intend to belabor the point made by Rankin about the Special Development Initiative Office, because it is clear that we are paying them to do nothing. And so if we are minded to cut costs, it is important that we collapse that secretariat and get the workers to a different sector, as has been made clear already. The second important issue is the development authorities. Mr. Speaker, the development authorities have projects dotted all over, and they are in various stages of completion. And so it was refreshing to note that they do not intend to award new contracts, but will focus on completing these existing projects that are all over. But, Mr. Speaker, we are strongly advocating that creating development authorities is also needless. These are functions that the district assemblies are capable of performing, because the projects are already in various assemblies. And on one of our talks to the districts, various DCs complained bitterly that they will be there and they will see projects being initiated by development authorities without their consent. And this is something that must stop. But Mr. Speaker, this government has been creating the impression that they are cutting costs. They have announced certain measures, including reduction in conferences, reduction in fuel and other things. But in reality, you don't see these things. When we went through the utilization of the funds by Office of Government Machinery, one thing that struck us was the amount of on cabinet retreat. Between January and September, the government had organized 3 cabinet retreats that cost this country 4.8 million cedis. This means that on average, they spent 1.6 million cedis on cabinet retreats. What kind of cabinet retreat do we have to organize that will cost this country a quantum 1.6 million cedis? This is for 3 quarters, 4.8 million cedis. Why, Mr. Speaker? So if this is how they intend to spend our money, then they do not deserve enough. They do not deserve all this amount of money. We are hoping and praying. And Mr. Speaker, what I said was up to September. I know that the 4th quarter, they've organized another cabinet retreat. So if you add that, then it means we are going to about 6 million cedis and over for cabinet retreat. What at all are they going to do? How cost the taxpayer this amount of money? So, Mr. Speaker, we want to urge them that if you are telling Ghanaians that you are cutting costs, we should not drive V8s in Accra. Who at all is enforcing this? Is the police going to stop ministers and others who are driving V8s in Accra? I mean, these are just cosmetic measures, and they don't seriously, because the evidence shows that they are really spending a lot on things that are not really beneficial to this country. So let government really mean what they say, and the cut in expenditure must be seen in some of these areas. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
At the conclusion, yes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to this debate. Mr. Speaker, the OGM has a tall list of over 14 state entities. So it's very erroneous on the part of my colleague to say that Cabinet met just on 3 occasions and spent 4.8 million Ghana cedis on just a retreat. Cabinet does not meet alone. Cabinet meets with a lot of invited guests. They don't meet in that retreat was not even held in Accra. Hotels were rented, people came in, resource persons were also invited to speak on various government programs, Mr. Speaker. So I'm questioning that just 3 cabinet retreats took account of that figure. Mr. Speaker, we have the Public Enterprises Commission, the Scholarship Secretariat, So if the President calls institutions under his office to a retreat, you don't expect only cabinet ministers to be there. It's a whole government activity that takes place there. So we should not belittle that and just put a figure of 4.8 and just bandage it about and propagate as if there's been some wastage of funds there, Mr. Speaker. This is government machinery, and government ought to spend money to ensure that we get the results that will keep the country running. So let's leave out the propaganda and look at the meat of what government is achieving for this country. Thank you very much.
I'll take the last one. Yes, Honorable Kujotu. But please be brief for me.
Yeah, I'll be very brief, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, may you live long. I thank you very much for the opportunity. Well, Mr. Speaker, the work of the Finance Committee deserves high praise. And I note that they came to this conclusion by consensus on a bipartisan note that this country must expense with the services of the Special Development Initiative Secretariat and the Monitoring and Evaluation Secretariat. This is a significant development, monumental development, and I want to commend the members of the Finance Committee, NDC members, MPP members, the bipartisan approach, the consensus building approach is very, 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 very inspiring. And Mr. Speaker, this confirms the point that we have been making on this floor and elsewhere, that there are many, many areas that we can cut expenditure. There are too many institutions, agencies, bureaucracies that we can do away with. And Mr. Speaker, if you pay regard to page 14 of the report, what the Special Development Initiatives told the Finance Committee they were going to do in the whole of 2023, you'll be shocked, Mr. Speaker. The whole of 2023. They say with ambulance operations. What is that? Ghana has the National Ambulance Service. They say they are going to do ambulance operations. Then they say they will procure incubators for distribution to hospitals across the country. What is this? We have a Ghana Health Service. We have Ministry of Health. Special Development Initiative say they will buy incubators, then they will go around and distribute the incubators to hospitals. We have Ghana Health Service, and in every region, we have the regional directorate. Every district, we have the district directorate. We have a very dynamic, active district health directorate. So what business does a secretariat at the presidency have in buying incubators to be going around and distributing them themselves? Then they say they will coordinate with the development authorities. I mean, the more you go through these things, Mr. Speaker, it's clear that, I mean, we must find some activities. I mean, jobs for the boys and girls. Let's find something to do when there's really no work. And Mr. Speaker, all these things come at great cost. Just by collapsing these two secretariats, we have saved 17.5 million Ghana cedis. A whopping 17.5 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, meanwhile, if you read the 2021 Auditor General's report, compensation for SD, according to the Auditor General, ballooned from less than 1 million in 2020 to 358 million in 2021. So these things come at great cost, and we can save money to solve our potable water challenges, our dilapidated school building challenges, our lack of hospitals. So I want to commend the Honorable Kweku Kwati, a young man who I really have enormous respect for, and commend the Honorable Atu Fosin, another young man who is promising, very enterprising job as finance minister of this country one day. Patrick Boama as vice chairman, I'm told, was very supportive as well. I mean, these are the kind of, decision-making, conduct, patriotism that this country needs. And I am so inspired this evening, Mr. Speaker. Let me assure, as I conclude, the Honorable Atu Fosin, that perhaps they haven't paid attention to the work of other committees who are doing well in cutting expenditure. The Joint Committee of Trade and Sports, they have voted against the 80 million at the Tourism Ministry for National Cathedral. My ministry has been able to block 160 million euros, my committee, Honorable, for Accra International Conference and 3 embassies. Mexico, Trinidad and Tobago, and Jamaica. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to assure Atufo that the committees are working and we are doing a good job. We appeal to President Akufo-Addo that just as we are just this week, just one day, see the number of savings we are making, the cuts taking place, he should take a cue and drastically reduce the size of his government. I commend the Finance Ministry and the Finance Committee, and I support the motion. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
At the conclusion of the debate, favor of the motion listed 10 say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is hereby adopted. And that this House has approved the sum of 410,712,912 Ghana cedis for the services of the Office of Government Machinery for the year ending 31st 2023. Yes, leader. Achi. We've gone past. Yes, leader.
Page 4, item 8. Page 4, item 8, Speaker.
Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, with respect.
May you direct the House?
It is so. Mr. Speaker, the ranking and the chair of the committee had an issue to resolve. Mr. Speaker, I want to be quoted as having said that them gave an indication that the outstanding matter has been resolved upon receipt. Mr. Speaker, the chair is here, so he will take over. Initially I thought he was out. So, Mr. Speaker, the agreement they had upon receipt of the letter is here. Let's begin.
Very well. Chairman. Very well. So, I have the honour's duty to put the question,
Mr. Speaker, there is a letter from the Office of the Special Prosecutor giving an assurance that the Minister of Finance promised that he will pay, but you signed a letter on 23rd of this month, which is Friday. We want the Minister of Finance to sign the letter today. Why should he wait till 23rd before he signs the letter? No, he must sign to commit that he is going to pay. Why? We are adjourning today. The minister said he will sign the letter on 23rd, Friday. So we are demanding that the Minister of Finance sign that letter today, and let's have it in addition to the Special Prosecutor's letter. Then we'll go ahead. Yes, that is the provision.
Mr. Speaker, what had happened was that the committee brought the issues before the House. In the subsequent, we had met the Office of the Special Prosecutor. We invited the Finance Minister and no mean person than the Chief Director appeared. And the Special Prosecutor also appeared. So we agreed amongst ourselves that they should resolve the issues on allowances and all other issues. Then we stood down the motion. Subsequent to this morning, the Office of the Special Prosecutor had written to the chairman of the committee, and that's the copy of the letter, indicating that the Office of the Special Prosecutor had met the Finance Ministry and they have agreed on all allowances. And they are hopeful that a letter will be written on 23rd to sign this. And that's why we would want to tender this so that we follow up to see that on Friday the letter would be given to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. So all the issues, according to the letter, have been resolved.
Yes, Honorable Ahiafo.
Mr. Speaker, sorry, I would have to rehash certain points for the purposes of the record. Mr. Speaker, it is right learning that when a condition of service is set down by law, you must comply with that particular law in paying remuneration to the staff of the Special Prosecutor, whose terms and conditions are spelled out by an act of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, the legislative power rests with Parliament, but not with the executive. Mr. Speaker, for every event, there must be an antecedent factor. The antecedent factor in the circumstances was owing to the fact that though this House passed the Special Prosecutors Act, followed it by the Special Prosecutors Regulation, in which the laws set down the conditions of service for the Special Prosecutor, the Minister responsible for finance, on his own, decided to throw out the law passed by this particular House, to write a letter proposing a condition of service for the Special Prosecutor and the staff of the Special Prosecutor contrary to the law. Mr. Speaker, this resulted into the Special Prosecutor not being paid by 15 months. And we want the payment to be made so that they can also have something for X months. Mr. Speaker, they told us that on Friday, the issue only to receive a letter from the Special Prosecutor, which for the purposes of the record, I would want the chairman to table the original letter so that I can go into the record. And the letter is saying that the outcome of the meetings would have to be signed by the Finance Minister on or before Friday 23rd. Mr. Speaker, I want the letter to be tabled so that I can form part of the record at the stage of the appropriation that on or before 23rd would be resolved and the payment will be made. Mr. Speaker, another issue raised by the minority leader was the fact that there were some illegalities in employing the people. That illegality, I pray that it will also be addressed. The Speaker, subject to the letter being tabled to form part of the record of this particular House, we will now have to approve the estimate so that based on that particular letter, we can hold the ministry and the minister responsible for finance responsible
for whatever frustration that the special prosecutor is going through. So, Mr. Speaker, once the letter is tabled, we will then have to put to support the appropriation for the office of the special prosecutor.
So,
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I think we are on the same wavelength, that we take the estimates, and I've already given the letter to the table it, and we'll be watching that the letters are signed.
Leader, table it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It means now we are sure that they will be paid. So let me put the question. Please, we have so many things. Honorable, pardon me. Let me put the question.
Mr. Speaker, I'm in support of the letter being tabled and forming part of the record, save that the content of the letter is only a comfort letter. The special prosecutor is telling the House that the agreement he's had with the Ministry of Finance is only in principle. In principle, when the committee made directions on the 14th of this month, the ministry is only agreeing with him in principle. That's not my language. That is the language of the letter. So the appropriate thing that should have been done for the House to accept is for a letter to emanate from the Ministry of Finance today. But that is not happening. So what is that? Because, Mr. Speaker, we were given the assurance last year. 12 months down the line,
Honorable Dafiamapo, if the special prosecutor himself, the beneficiary, is assuring us that the agreement has been reached, that he is going to be paid, he and his staff is going to be paid, let's take him on board and let's move on, please.
Mr. Speaker, that was not the directive of the committee. The committee made specific demands. So the letter, it has to be a letter from the Ministry of Finance that should be informing the House.
Well. Honorable Dafiamapo,
Mr. Speaker, paragraph 2, it says...
Honorable Dafiamapo, I've heard you, but I'm taking, whether it's a comfort letter or whatever it is, I'm taking it on board. Once the beneficiary is bringing this letter to us, I will take it on board. And that note, I'll put the question. And the question is, all those in favor of the motion listed 8 in today's order paper, say aye. All those against, say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion listed 8 in today's order paper is hereby adopted, and that this House has approved the sum of 129,549,380 Ghana cedis for the services of the Office of the Special Prosecutor for the year ending 31st December 2023. Yes, Leader. Yes, Leader.
Mr. Speaker, if you'll be pleased, we are praying for 1 hour's suspension. We suspended sitting for 1 hour.
Very well. Honorable members. Honorable members, by of the leadership, we are hereby suspending the House for 1 hour.